All right, please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Not good. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now I'm going to call this regular school board meeting for Independent School District 544 to order. The first item of business is to establish the quorum. Clerk?
Melanie Cole.
Here.
Matt Lemke. Here. Natalie Knudsen.
Here.
Lynn Danielson here. Steve Biggessa absent. Melissa Hermes.
Present.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on that? All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, the agenda is approved, and we'll move on to acknowledgements. Congratulations to 8th grader Eric Lottie for becoming our spelling bee champion, and congratulations to 8th grader Luke Schroeder for earning runner-up. Both students will advance to the Region Spelling Bee on Tuesday, February 6, 2018 at Lakes Country Service Cooperative. And then also another thank you to Dean and Julianne Gutzmer for their donation of a cello to Mr. Peterson's orchestra classroom at Cleveland School. So those are our acknowledgements. We will move on with our reports for the evening and begin with Jennifer Cohorst, our school nurse. Hello, Ms. Cohorst.
Hi. All right, so I am just going to give everyone a brief update about our wellness committee. We do this every year, so just so the board knows what's going on. Our goals this year have been just having a representative wellness committee that contains community members, staff, and students and parents. We also are hoping to increase healthy food options at our schools, staff wellness, and supporting ongoing wellness efforts, such as a bike rack here at Kennedy, walking trails that I know Natalie's working on, and enhancing our mothers' nursing and pumping rooms. So other things we've done this year to support our goals, just reaching out to have more committee members, and that's even reaching out to students and student council, teachers, and everyone is always welcome. So if anyone else wants to come, they sure can, or you know anyone who's interested. Our meetings are always at 3:45 here at Kennedy. We're also in the process of implementing a new nutrition program called Mosaic. We have a grad student helping us work on that, and that'll especially help our diabetic students. It makes carb counting a lot simpler, and then parents will be able to look it up online as well. It should be a really great system once it's all going. So another thing is we're just attempting to gather feedback right now in collaboration with food service to provide more variety and increase satisfaction with lunches as far as students go. We need to stay within our guidelines, but the students want a little more say in what they're having, so hopefully they can reach a good agreement with food service there. And then we just held a wellness challenge in the fall that was well received, and then we had a fitness class for staff during our last staff in service.
Great.
All right, and then we do have one more meeting this year, and that will be in March.
All right. Good. Any questions for Ms. Cohorst about our wellness committee?
You said on this Mosaic Recertification.
Yeah.
So when do you anticipate that being up and running? Or I think you're doing some trials, or is it right now going?
Yes, but it's not going yet. So
Okay.
right now is all the input of the
Okay.
ingredients, and I think she is all finished with that. So now she has to put all those ingredients into a menu, or into recipes, then it goes into a menu. So probably by fall for sure, I would think it should be ready to go. Hopefully sooner. Hopefully we could do some trials before the end of the year.
It's been much more time intensive
Yeah.
than we ever imagined.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are these recipes going to replace some of the stuff that's already being
No,
served?
she's
or
just
will go
taking what we
alongside?
currently have.
Oh, gotcha.
And so it's just a different program. Previously, our LPN was just putting in, she was just kind of guesstimating at our carb counts for meals. So we're just trying to go with something that's a lot more accurate and is going to be a lot better for our diabetic students that way.
So then,
Yeah.
so then when a parent would go on there beforehand, maybe?
Yeah, they could,
and then
yes.
Try to.
Yep, or this, and it'll be posted too. It will be in the nurse's office if a student doesn't know what the carb counts are. But right now, parents, we send this handwritten copy home right now.
Sure.
But yeah, it'll be posted online.
Okay.
Are the FACS classes involved at all in the wellness?
One of the FACS teachers, she comes to our wellness committee and she does a lot with her class, and I think she was doing some surveys or will be doing surveys on food satisfaction and kind of their goals, what they want, what they hope for in the food area, and maybe taste testing and working with Becky Shearer. And
Did you have success when you made a call out to be a more representative
this
committee?
last one was actually much better. Our last meeting, we had some trouble getting members from the other schools. Kennedy had good representation, but McKinley and Adams and Cleveland we've struggled with a little bit. So this last time we had 2 new members, staff members, and that's actually been our biggest struggle. Community members have been more apt to come than our own staff members. So it's looking better.
Good.
So.
All right.
Can I ask one other question? You hadn't reported on it, but how is the for you, for wellness-wise, for the change with peanut butter and the nut allergy?
You know, in the nurse side of things, it makes my life a lot easier because I'm not as paranoid, worried about what we're serving and what our students who have those allergies are ingesting. And I really haven't heard any complaints either, so that's great. Yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Good night.
Next, we'll hear from our elementary principal, Scott Colbeck. He'll report on McKinley and Adams schools.
Good evening.
Hello.
This week is Paraprofessional Recognition Week in our schools. And this is a week where we just take a moment to recognize and celebrate and thank and pay a little more attention to all of the paraprofessionals that work in our schools. So just follow along with me for a second here. I want you to pretend that McKinley and Adams schools are merged together and become one larger building and they're under one roof, okay? So between those 2 schools that are now one large building, if we got rid of the 4 cooks that it takes to operate those buildings, the 4 custodians, the 2 secretaries, the principal, the nurse, the social worker, the 25 regular classroom teachers, the 3 gym teachers, 2 music teachers, 2 special ed teachers, 3 speech teachers, 2 Title I teachers, what would we have left? We would have 22 paraprofessionals. 22 paraprofessionals. Now, within paraprofessionals, there's all kinds of different types and kinds. There's Title I paras, there are special ed paras, there are noon hour paras, and then if you don't fit in those groups, then you are called a paraeducator. And between this one large school now that we're talking about, grades K through 2, we have 2 Title I paras, 6 paraeducators, 10 special ed paras, and then 4 noon hour paras. The 4 noon hour paras come in just for a couple hours in the middle of the day. Now, if you think about what wouldn't happen or what would not get done in our schools if we didn't have paraeducators, our libraries would have to shut down. Hopefully not for 3 days though, but it'd be longer. We wouldn't have anybody to collect money, lunch money, to deposit it. We wouldn't have anybody running the breakfast and the breakfast line, the lunch line, the computers. We wouldn't have anybody to handle the office in the middle of the day so our secretaries could have a lunch break. Nobody to run the copy machines, nobody to supervise the gym or playground before school, or to supervise the cafeteria during lunch. We wouldn't have anybody to help the kids across the street at the end of the day, getting kids on and off the special ed buses, generally basically keeping kids pointed in the right direction. So it's just all of those things that absolutely need to happen for a school to function smoothly. So it takes everyone, and we have some things planned in our buildings this week to recognize and thank these people, and hopefully make them feel a little bit extra special here this week. The other thing I wanted to mention to our board tonight is this thing called universal screenings. Universal screenings. We just finished our winter universal screenings. We do it 3 times a year, fall, winter, spring. Now, what does that mean when I talk about a universal screening? Universal just means we do this with every single student in our schools at McKinley and Adams. And so we screen them, we basically give them a brief little assessment to see how are they coming along with their learning. So as an example, at McKinley schools, we have Mike Ebevold, he's our Title I lead teacher. He works with Elaine Snyder, our Title I para, and then Amy Hopper and Heidi Drews, they're para-educators. And in 2 to 3 days, in the course of 2 to 3 days, they meet individually with all 243 students, and they screen every student at McKinley. Now, what does that screening look like? What do they do? So with a kindergartner, one kindergartner will sit down with one adult, and they will do a 1-minute timed test to see how many letters they can name in 1 minute. And then they do a 1-minute timed test to see how many letter sounds they know. And now on a page, there's more than just 26 letters. There's many, many, many more, and they're just in random order. Some are uppercase, lowercase, same thing with the letter sounds. So that's what they do with the kindergartners. They take that information, they report back to the teachers, and then they use it to see, are we serving the right kids? Are we pulling the right kids out of class to serve them with our Title I program? And sometimes what we learn from that is some kids might exit the program, some kids might enter. In first grade, they do a 1-minute timed test, but it's called nonsense words. I'll give you some examples. FID, F-I-D. A student has to look at that and read that word, FID, or ZIB, or PEL. And so they're reading nonsense words. How many nonsense words can you read in 1 minute? And then they also read 3 passages. Each passage is timed. It's a 1-minute timed test. And then they figure out how many words per minute can you read. Let's say a student can read 34 words per minute, but they have 4 errors. Then it's 34, take away the 4, it's 30 words per minute. They do the same thing with our second graders, 3 passages. They're all 1-minute timed passages, find out their words per minute. However, they may not have to read all 3 passages with all of those second grade kids, because some of them they already knew from the fall results that, wow, this student is reading at a 4th grade level already. So we don't need to kind of waste our time, waste their time pulling them out of class and doing this assessment or this screening. So then, like I said, the results are shared with the teachers, and we use that just to kind of help identify where we're at. So that's universal screenings 3 times a year. I should mention at Adams School we use Mike Ebevold and Sue Hahnemann, who are both Title I teachers, and then Amy Newkirk and Daniela Zenz and Jennifer Jensen, who are, one of them's a Title I para and 2 of them are para-educators. And we can get through all 324 students at Adams in the course of about 3 days with that. Just 2 more things briefly to touch on. I just wanted to quickly give you, I always like to just give a little JAWS update. As of December 21st, our last day before Christmas break, our students had run 43,000 laps. So if you were to drive around Adams, you'd see a well-worn path in the snow. When the snow melts, you'll see a well-worn path in the grass. A lot of people think we need to make a track or put wood chips down. I'm like, no, we don't. It's just a nice little dirt path. It looks good. The 43 laps equate to over 6,000 miles. If you take those 6,174 miles and divide by our 324 students, that's an average of 19 miles per student. However, we know that some do better, some not. Our top student is approaching 90 miles. And how do I know that? When you look at the JAWS bulletin board in the hallway, every time a new JAWS card is placed on the bulletin board, it tells the student body that, wow, whoever's out there is already on their 18th card. Each card finished is 5 miles. Now, the program doesn't work without these 3 people. Deb Wellman, she's a parent volunteer who doesn't have parents at Adams. Or, I'm sorry, who doesn't have students at, she doesn't have students at Adams. She's a parent of a couple students at Cleveland, but she believes in the program enough to still come over to Adams. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 3 days a week. Mandy Hahnemann is a parent, covers Tuesdays. Brooke McCon is a parent, covers Fridays. And then, of course, our FIAD teacher, Derek Meyer, is involved every day. So we thank Derek, and then parent volunteers, Brooke and Mandy and Deb. And then lastly, I think it's on your board agenda tonight, Cindy Stafford, her retirement. So I'm going to make a recommendation that you as a board don't act on
Just a group of nays?
Let's just do a pilot project here and not accept it and just see what happens.
Just table it for a while?
Let's table it. So I know when the board agenda goes out to the staff on Thursdays, that's when people, I think, at Adams School started to see that Friday, today, So I know Cindy's having lots of staff stop by and talking to her about that. But my first year at Adams, this is my 12th year at Adams. Cindy's been there 13 years. So she arrived there a year before I did. So I've not worked in that building without her. But I think if you were to maybe find her high school yearbook and open up and find her photo, maybe, you remember years ago they'd have some little caption under everybody's senior picture, but I think under hers it would be efficiency personified. And, just one of the most efficient people I know, so organized, just a worker, just works. And so, she won't be replaced. But I also have learned, life moves on. This year we have a new secretary at McKinley, and Michelle is doing great, and she replaced Joan. I'm just so thankful that Joan and Cindy chose to wait 1 year between their retirements. So we're losing a really, really good employee. I don't know how many years. I think it'll mention it tonight when you read about her, but I know she's been at Adams. This is her 13th year there, and I just really, really appreciate her. So with that, I'll take any questions from the board.
No? Good, thank you, Mr. Colbeck. And now our high school principal, Mr. Monty.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Yeah, I would just have to echo Scott's thoughts in relationship to the paraprofessional help that we get here at the secondary school. There's no possible way we'd make it through a single day without those countless people that are helping us all across the building in all kinds of areas. So you take his numbers and take them times about 3 or 4, and you'd be right there with the great people that we have each day right here. We had a great day today, an opportunity for our staff to prepare for second semester and third quarter that's starting here tomorrow. So that was fun to be able to have that kind of quality time, to just kind of walk around, talk to some staff members, just see them busy trying to get ready for some new students coming their way, especially at the high school and middle school level. Along with that, our registration process for next year is kicking in. Special thanks goes out to our counseling office here that has put together another copy. It's almost ready to go of our registration handbook for next year. A lot of changes go into that each and every year. We have the related arts areas that are going to get a curriculum implementation for next year. So just as an example, our art offerings are changing slightly by course title and by description. Those are things that are going to be explained within that registration handbook that'll go out to all students, all parents, so they got a chance to review those materials before they actually come and sit down and try to figure out what classes they're taking for next year. But good work being done there by all concerned. And of course, I'm very excited about getting all that information back, because then that gets us some quality information of how many different course sections we'll be looking at offering for next year. All of that will kick into gear full speed ahead come about the first week in February here. So that's why we've got to get this information out to people here as quickly as possible. Off to a little bit of fun here. Next Monday afternoon, we'll have our Snowball Coordination. Here at the auditorium here at the Kennedy Secondary School, that'll be going on at 1:30 for maybe hopefully a little bit less than an hour there, but 1:30 next Monday, the 29th. We've got Snowball Week all of next week. I know Monday night, as an example, at the basketball game here, they're also going to use that as an opportunity to, introduce our students that are more directly involved in Snowball royalty and that. So that's a nice improvement that Mr. Abrams has offered as far as an opportunity to kind of recognize those students at a home event during the course of that week. So they're going to do that on Monday night. And then they'll be out in the community. I know they spend some time visiting some of our local nursing homes and just kind of being out and about a little bit for that week as well. To culminate with the dance then on that Saturday night. We're also looking at an upcoming Prism concert here, and our Prism concert is kind of saved for our top auditioned music groups as an opportunity to kind of perform together across choir, band, and orchestra, and that has been moved to 5 o'clock on Wednesday, January 31st. We've done this with a concert that needed to be rescheduled, and we had a problem with the Saturday date that this Prism concert was originally scheduled for. So we're looking to try to pull this off here at a 5 o'clock time frame, done by 6, so those students can get out to community churches, programs, whatever they have after that. It's a concert that should last less than an hour, but we'd certainly invite the public to come in for that. It is a fantastic, the quality of music that's performed by those groups is off the charts. So join us for that on Wednesday, January 31st. And then our counseling office has also been helping us get middle school Saturday school up and running. We're going to be starting to contact parents about that opportunity here shortly, because our first date will be on February 10th, that Saturday. And what we've used this for is students that have identified within the first and second quarters that have been struggling a little bit in some of those core classes, have an opportunity to come in on a Saturday morning from 8:30 until 11, get an extra quality 2.5 hours in there, work on a little bit of that past quarters work, maybe move that up to a passing grade, and then get their name off the list for middle school remedial summer school at the middle school level. Gary Hoffbeck helps with both of these programs, and he keeps telling us how we're keeping our summer school numbers in check because of our chance to be able to offer these Saturday mornings for these students to catch up a little bit. So that'll get going on February 10th. And then last on my list here, I'm glad this bad weather was hitting us today, because our Norwegian student teacher that's coming in with 2 other student teachers that'll be in the Moorhead area plan to arrive tomorrow night. So if that would have been tonight, I think we'd have been looking at a little delay there. But she is arriving tomorrow night. We'll give her a day or two to recover from the jet lag situation there. But she's going to be working closely with Deb Suter in French and Lori Roeder in English as a couple world languages for her. And just a great opportunity to have her in the building for 6 weeks. She'll get a chance to be exposed to our, Deb Suter has 7th graders in a world language intro course. So she'll have an opportunity to work with those students as well. She is fluent in those 2 languages along with Norwegian and Swedish. So just a great exposure across our whole building to see somebody that's whatever you call 4 different languages and your expertise in that. Looking forward to hosting her here through about March 11th. So, any questions for me?
Taking the Saturday classes, how long will they run?
We really take them all the way up through May.
Okay.
We skip a few Saturdays in there that we don't have school surrounding that, if we're missing a Friday or a Monday. We probably have, I think we have 13 Saturdays that will run through the middle of May, and see how much work we can get collected in that time.
Do you serve breakfast at those?
We serve some snacks.
Snacks.
Yep.
Did you say how many kids are doing
We've,
this?
I don't know how many they're inviting to this right now. I'll have those numbers next go around here. But we've had typically in the high teens to lower 20s that could be coming. More will be invited, but that's even a number that will actually show up on any given Saturday. So, yeah, and we have 3 of our teachers, and 6 of them have volunteered to work with this program. We'll have 3 of them there each time. And we usually are lucky enough to have maybe a math person and an English person at each one of those sessions, which are some areas that really could use some additional help and are coming in. So
this is voluntary as opposed to a stipend for the teachers?
No, they're being paid. We're doing this out of some the Right Start funds that we have, sort of on the theory that we can get a better right start for the following year if we have some of these core curriculum areas a little bit more under their belt by the time they're done with anywhere from 5th to 8th grade. And the responsibility really comes back to that core teacher, because they put whatever assignments they expect the student to complete in order to pass the course. They throw into a folder. It's all ready for that student when they show up, and they just take an assignment out, finish it, and move on to the next one. So our core teachers are really building the assignments, and then we have teachers that are there each time that could just help tutor and correct those and get them back to the teachers for evaluation.
Just a question, there was registration with STEAM, the STEAM program for the high school and that. Are we sending out individual letters then to parents, or how do parents register for that program for their children, or how are we doing that now compared to before and stuff
Sure.
like that?
It does have a separate section within the registration handbook itself that talks about that. And then our counselors go out to meet with individual classrooms in preparation for them sitting down. And that's one of the areas, of course, they highlight. We haven't sent anything additional out, like a separate letter or anything like that. But we do make it highlight and make it part. I think it's got like 3 pages in our registration handbook that they're talking about. And it'll be interesting how we put that whole schedule together next year, because we've had an opportunity now to complete 3 years. And frankly, I don't know if our registration numbers will be solid enough to have all 3 years separate. But we've already talked to the teachers about, well, if there is a need to combine years together, let's say can we do 11 and 12 together? Could we do 10 and 11 together? If our numbers would more make sense if we go that way. So we're hopeful that we'll see a lot of, and we've also lessened the amount of courses that are, we started out with, okay, you got to take 4 course block in order to make this work. We just found out there's just so few students that have that much time available to dedicate to that large of a block that we've really ended up pushing the math independent of that, and we've really turned this into a 3-course block now. And I think that will work better for students, and we can get more students interested in signing up, because they only got to use 3 out of 7 instead of 4 out of 7. So we're hopeful that will help. All right, thanks,
All right,
folks.
thank you. And now we'll have a report from Superintendent Ness.
Yep, the only thing I'll add besides thank you to our paras, it is Paraprofessional Week. The Governor Dayton has a proclamation, and I know lots of our buildings are doing special things, so thanking our paraprofessionals for their great work. Just want to mention our long-term facility committee is meeting again tonight. We'll be meeting at 6:30 at Heritage Building, and that's the one building we really haven't toured. So and last meeting, it seemed like we talked a lot about that building, so the need to get out there and see it. We'll be spending a lot of time out there. R.A. Morton was here last week. Steve Plattenberg and Preston Early, and came out with some concept things, some budgets, and we'll just start tackling the early childhood part of our long-term facilities needs tonight. So that's at 6:30 at Heritage.
Great. Any questions for the superintendent? All right, we have several items on general consent, and that includes the minutes of our reorganizational school board meeting and our regular school board meeting that we held on January 8th. And then we have a couple of personnel.
Yes, I will recommend to accept Cindy's retirement. We'll have to do that, Scott. So Cindy, yes, great employee. Then 2 new hires. We have Amy Hosh, special ed para, and Heidi Drews, a paraeducator at McKinley. So recommend those hires.
Great. And then other items for consideration is the contract between the school district and the business manager, and a motion to assign Elaine Janke as the Iowa, which stands for Identified Official with Authority, which, that's a cool name, but
we already knew this, yeah.
Yeah, for Minnesota Department of Ed's External User Access Recertification System. Right. And then assign Derek Abrams as the designated Minnesota State High School League school representative, and Matthew Lemke as the designated Minnesota State High School League board representative. And then we would also, if we so choose, to approve the consent agenda, approve a notice of desire to negotiate from the Fergus Falls Special Education paraprofessionals that are having their special week this week. So, is there a motion to approve the general consent items?
So move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, and then I just got to ask Elaine, what's the external user access recertification system?
It's actually all of there's many sites with Minnesota Department of Education, whether it's to do with curriculum or things with Mark with finances or Mars. And I have to go in and certify anyone that has rights to go into that area specifically in MDE, so that they can actually submit a report or put in information that's requested, like the census for me or Mars and all of them. So
you're like
it really is everything. There's just so many, it's just a massive amount of resources and accesses that have, I probably give, what would you say, maybe 40, 50 people in our district, different accesses.
She's the gatekeeper.
I was going to say.
I'm the gatekeeper. It's a funny name, and it sounds like it's really big, but it's really just a gatekeeper for all the accessing the MDE sites for data.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you for handling it.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions or comments regarding the general consent items? Oh, did I get a motion?
Yeah. In a second.
Woo-wee. All right. All in favor of approving, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Yay, Alzheimer's. All right. So now under new business, we have a resolution directing administration to make recommendations for reductions in programs and positions and reasons therefore. So I will read that. It's a relatively short resolution, and before anyone panics, I'll note this is an annual resolution that basically tells our administration, take a look at the budget, and if we need to cut, we need to cut and get going. So, whereas the potential financial condition of the school district dictates that the school board may reduce expenditures and improve efficiencies, and whereas this reduction in expenditure may include discontinuance of positions and discontinuance or curtailment of programs, and whereas a determination must be made as to which teachers' contracts may be terminated and not renewed, and which teachers may be placed on unrequested leave of absence without pay or fringe benefits in effecting discontinuance of positions, be it resolved by the School Board of Independent School District Number 544 as follows: that the school board hereby directs the superintendent of schools or administrator or administration to consider the discontinuance of programs or positions to effectuate economies in the school district, reduce expenditures, and make recommendations to the school board for the discontinuance of programs and curtailment of programs. So I'm just wondering if someone would offer that resolution and move for its adoption.
I'll offer resolution, move for its adoption.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion or commentary regarding the resolution? Clerk, will you please take roll?
Christie Hermes,
Yes.
Stephen Biggessa,
Yes.
Blaine Danielson, yes. Natalie Knudsen,
Yes.
Matthew Lemke,
Yes.
Emily Cole,
Yes?
resolution passes.
Very good, thank you. Another motion that I'd be looking for is a motion to approve the fundraiser requests that came in for the period of time that begins February 1st of 2018 and ends September 30th of 2018. Is there a motion to approve those?
I move we accept the fundraiser requests.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, I'll take Natalie this time. Any discussion on the fundraiser requests? Any questions about procedure or what we're trying to accomplish? All right, hearing no questions, all in favor of approving, say aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. And that is approved. I'll read another resolution, this one being a resolution on the retirement of Cindy Stafford. Whereas Cindy Stafford began her employment with Fergus Falls Public Schools on August 29th, 1972, and worked until July 1st, 1978 as a teacher's aide, returning on August 27th, 1991 as a secretary in various school buildings throughout the district. And whereas Cindy has been a valued employee with Fergus Falls Public Schools for the past 32 years, and whereas Cindy has done an excellent job as secretary in the school district, and now therefore be it resolved by the Fergus Falls School Board to thank Cindy Stafford for her 32 years of dedicated service to the Fergus Falls Public Schools. Will someone offer that resolution and move for its adoption?
I'll offer resolution, move for its adoption.
All right, and a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Clerk, the roll call again, please.
Blaine Danielson, yes. Stephen Biggessa,
Yes.
Melissa Hermes,
Yes.
Natalie Cole,
Yes.
Matt Lemke,
Yes.
Natalie Knudsen,
Yes.
resolution passes.
All right. And then we will move on for school board policy revisions, and these are listed in the minutes. Policies revisions suggested on student early admission, promotion, retention, and program design, school district curriculum and instruction goals, another policy on curriculum, another policy on instructional curriculum, and then the developmental parental involvement policies. So we are looking for one motion encompassing all of these policies. Someone willing to move that we adopt the revisions?
So moved.
All right, is there a second? I'll second. All right, and any narrative that you want to offer?
Let me go through them. Okay, so I think everyone has them in the packet here, right? You see the red line version. So the way this works is the state legislature last year, they go through and they do their law changes. And then MSBA, Minnesota School Board Association, we subscribe to their policy provision. It's an extra fee, but it's well worth it because they take the legislation, they have lawyers vet and rewrite new policies, make changes, and then they come to the boards. A number of policies. There was probably 3 times as many of these policies, but most of them were non-substantive. They might have changed a reference. They might have changed the word NCLB to ESSA or to the federal law. Some minor changes that we just make those without the. So here we go. This is 513, student promotion, retention, and program design. You see some red line. A lot of this is aligning things with the world's best workforce. This one has to do with identifying guidelines for gifted and talented, and just making sure we're adopting procedures for that. 601 is taking out the No Child Left Behind law and using more federal law. And just a few word changes. On the second page, again, there's with our long-term strategic plan, assessing and identifying students again for gifted and talented. And 3 and 5 is kind of interesting on that 6013. There's school districts in the state that might have a number of buildings. Large districts have a number of buildings, and say there is a very, staffs have the ability to kind of select the buildings they go to depending on their unions. So what might happen is you might not have a nice balance of new teachers, mid-level, and experience. So what this is trying to say is to make sure you don't put all the new teachers in one building. So very, very inexperienced working with a population of students. It's all about balancing your students. We have the luxury of not worried about that because we have all of our second grade, for example, in one building, all of our third grade. So they're all there. And then they also making sure that if there's studies that show if a student gets 3 below average teachers in a row, they'll have a difficult time recovering in their education. So the idea is to make sure that there's, again, a blend to make sure. Yet, with our staff all being in the same building, and our staff, they'll get quality teachers throughout their school years. So that's what this is about. And then in the page 5, you've got every child reading at or above grade level, no later than the end of 3rd grade. We have a number of resources. That's one of the world's best work for goals, and making sure that we're identifying students who are not doing that and giving them the help that needed. We have RTI. We have lots of different title services, special education services, lots of those different services. So that's what that policy is about. Curriculum, the responsibility of curriculum, provide translation to the extent appropriate and practical. For the most part, we haven't had to worry about that. We do follow the rules that two-thirds of our advisory is parents. We have some staff, we have some ex officio members, but we have a great DAC-RAC team, district advisory committee, because of the participation that we have. And again, developing that local literacy plan, we have done that. So again, the red line versions are MSBA recommended versions, which are vetted by the lawyers, and everyone else typically does those as well. So there's powers and numbers there.
Can I ask you one question on 6? So when it says scientifically based reading instruction consistent with law, which is that, are they talking about the literacy plan that we have to, what law are they trying to?
Yeah, I'm assuming the federal law.
Okay, that we have.
Yeah. So it'd be ESSA.
Okay.
Right now would be, so they're doing more general terms, so they don't have to come back and change the policy again. So they just use the law, so whether it's No Child Left Behind or ESSA or whatever they dream up next.
Okay.
So they just have it as law.
So they're just saying teachers providing comprehensive scientifically based reading instruction consistent with the law, that it's scientifically and best practice and.
Correct, and we do research, when we adopt a curriculum, we do research-based, and they actually, Carrie said scientifically is actually old language. It's really not utilized that way anymore.
Okay.
604 is all about the civics test, so we have that built into our curriculum. So you go way to page 4. So you have students enrolled in public school must correctly answer at least 30 of 50 civics test questions, but there's no penalty if they don't. But what our teachers do is they incorporate that into their course. They give that civics test as part of their curriculum, and it's built into the grades. Dean, is that any addition on that? The civics test, they just build it right into their grade. So it's not a matter, if there's no stipulation that you can't graduate if you don't pass the civics test, we give it, and the teachers like giving it. It's a good test, and students then.
Are we going to be putting that though on it says though that even if you don't pass it, it doesn't stop you from graduating, that's note is going to be made of it on your record, on your permanent record?
We are not. It'll be part of their social studies grade.
Okay.
Yep. At this point, unless you tell us different. Right now, we're saying no. Then we have the parent and family engagement policy, 612.1. Lots of things about family members, parent and family engagement, and really, it's a little confusing. Guardian is in this, if you're the guardian, you are the parent. And so there's a lot of red line on this, and it's really, again, we're adopting that. It's part of the new ESSA, and, it's one of those adoptions, and now we have to dig in and what exactly do we have to do, with the policy.
So the big thing they added was just and family, wasn't that part of?
Right.
Just a parent, right?
Yep, and part of it, yes.
So that's the.
So it's a lot about, we really want parents engaged, students are gonna be more successful if their children or their parents are engaged and active in their learning. And so we're just trying to involve parents in many, many ways here, so, so that's a brief summary. We had Natalie and Steve sat down with Elaine and I and went through these, and they made the motion and second to adopt that, so.
All right, very good. Any other questions, discussion? Anything on the policies? All in favor of approving these revisions, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. All right, that is approved, and we do have on our agenda the Governor's Proclamation, Paraprofessional Recognition Week, whereas the week of January 22nd through 26th, 2018 has been named Paraprofessional Recognition Week by the Minnesota Department of Education, and whereas Minnesota is home to more than 20,000 paraprofessionals who provide services in multiple settings within the schools, including support for instruction, student activities, and individual students, as well as numerous other tasks that contribute to the educational success. And whereas the support and services provided by paraprofessionals are integral to student achievement, resulting in more effective Minnesota schools, and whereas the state of Minnesota and the Minnesota Department of Education are committed to excellence in education and recognize the important role that paraprofessionals play in ensuring the educational success. Now therefore, I, Mark Dayton, as read by Melanie Cole, Governor of Minnesota, do hereby proclaim the week of the 22nd through the 22nd, 2018, and January Professional Recognition Week in the state of Minnesota. Is there someone willing to offer that?
Resolution for its adoption.
Okay,
No, stay.
great. Any discussion? All in favor, or Cliff, will you do the roll?
Melissa Hermes,
Yes.
Matt Lemke.
Yes.
Steve Biggessa.
Yes.
Melanie Cole.
Yes.
Clayton Danielson. Yes. Natalie Knutson.
Yes.
The resolution passes.
Alrighty, very good. So we'll stay, the board's going to stay after this meeting is adjourned to share some of our learning from the School Board Association Conference and to discuss our long-term facility. Then we're going to adjourn from here, go out to the Heritage Building where we'll tour and meet with the community members for the long-term facilities committee meeting. So, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion on that? All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Opposed, say nay. And we are adjourned. Thank you for your help.